SAFM, it is Jetset breakfast on this Saturday morning. Our next topic of conversation, we look at the Kagiso Trust, which in partnership with Africa Beyond 4IR are celebrating Youth Month with a fabulous youth career expo that is happening in Limpopo today, in fact, kicking off at 9 a.m. this morning. And we've got on the line Mankodi Moitse, who is we're still getting her on the line, but let me tell you a little bit about this expo. So it aims to actually educate, empower and equip the youth of Limpopo with information and skills, much needed information and skills for their future successes. As we know, the official stats have been released for the first quarter of 2022 by Statistics SA, reported last week, Monday. And the unemployment rate in South Africa is on a steady rise, now sitting at 35.3% and 34.5% rather. It was at 35% in the last quarter of 2021. So having risen by a percentage point in the first quarter of 2022 to 34.5%. And the vast majority of those affected by this unemployment situation in the country and lack of prospects is obviously those within the youth demographic, school leavers from the age of 15 to varsity goers at around 24, and of course those of us that are already, or those of you, I forget that I'm not a youth anymore, that are in the job seekers market between ages 25 to 34. Mankodi Moitse joins me on the line now. Good morning to you, Mankodi.
Good morning, Bridget. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for taking the call. And she is the Chief Executive Officer at Kagiso Trust. I know you obviously, with just an hour to go before you open doors for the expo this morning, there's a lot that you need to get through by way of your final checklist, so we don't take the time for granted. But I was just saying, Stats SA releasing the updated statistics in terms of the unemployment rate in the country having gone up by a percentage point since the fourth quarter in 2021, now sitting at 34.5%. And there's a lot. It's a compounded issue as to why, a third of the country is essentially unemployed.
Absolutely. And more important, what's worrying is that in that number, when we now just pull out the youth, it even gets scary. And it's really something that we have to arrest with urgency and do everything that we can to make sure that we change. I guess the big thing for us and all of us, and thank you so much for this opportunity, it's really to say, how do we collectively do something concrete that we know it's got the impact and the outcomes that is desired. So yes, today, and I was just thinking about this, and we are really in a place called Amanda Swook in Rikop Sikukune. And I was trying to, it's our first time that we have the event of this nature. And it reminded me that some years ago, I think as Kagiso Trust, we were grappling with the issue of how do we improve learning outcomes. As people know, we went to Free State, and I think the results speak for themselves. Now, about 5 years later, we decided let's just go to another area, rural area, that we believe the interventions that we have, the model we have in education can assist. But when we started to do this, we realized that we really have to be, our models should be agile. Is what we are offering still sufficient? And we realize that we need to find a way to leapfrog, to work with our youth to do something different. And today it's really around that in addition to the model that we know is tried and tested, what about if we introduce other areas that people have researched and people have spoken about? 4IR skills are important.
Yes.
They can leapfrog Africa. So today it's really about that.
Yeah. And I was actually going to ask you in terms of Limpopo. I mean, we know from just, what we see and read on the news and our television. And if you've gone to Limpopo, one kind of knows the economic situation, the challenges and the struggles within communities in the Limpopo province. Very much under-resourced, very much forgotten communities to a large degree. And so we can only but assume that even within the scholastic system, that rippling effect that we see from the lack of economic growth, development, and plowing into the province trickles down into the school systems.
It's so important what you're saying, and you see young people. The other day we went to the rural part of KZN, and during productive hours, when you see a young person between 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock being in the streets, your mind tells you something. Somehow the system has failed them. They cannot be actively economically engaged. And we are sitting with a very, very unfortunate situation, and that is why areas like Sikukune, for an example, areas like our rural areas, they need us to be intentional that when we talk about inclusivity and giving the young people opportunities, we should really think deeply about how do we make sure that they are included, how do we make sure that when you drive in the main roads, many of them during hours that people should either be in school or should be working, are in the streets. And that tells you something, and it shows that we really need to be doing something as a country.
It is Mankodi joining us, Mayor Mankodi, who is the Chief Executive Officer out at Kagiso Trust, and they are about to embark today, in fact, on a Youth Career Expo in Limpopo in partnership with Africa Beyond 4IR, celebrating Youth Month, and it's happening the whole day today. And this is very much an interactive experience, right? Aiming to just harness a diversity of skills, but also impart a lot of knowledge, and it's happening physically as well as virtually.
Definitely. We know, thanks, Bridget. I think it's a good point you are mentioning. We are trying to optimize the technology that is out there. Physically, we're here in Mandashoek. We are in a very good venue. Hopefully, the data and the internet will work because what we're doing requires that. We are also on Facebook together with AB4IR because ideally it's for all the youth. So if young people go to our Facebook in an hour's time and click there, they will be able to participate. And let's see the youth of Sikukune helping us to say, many people have told us, for an example, that there is career in gaming. I'm not sure I understand it. I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it, and that's why I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, they say young people and technology, they're easy partner. It's an easy partnership.
Yes.
But can somebody sitting here say, aha, I can see this, how it works? People are saying drones in security, drones in farming, today we want to see that. And let somebody come out of this session and say, I can see. And the beautiful thing about it, we've got grade 7s who are coming. We've got assistant teachers. This concept of assistant teachers is really powerful. Assistant teachers are young. The Department of Education has brought them along. Now imagine all assistant teachers being 4IR savvy. They'll be bringing this powerful skill in the learning environment. So we've got the young, because we are saying, let's introduce pathways. Let's introduce, in areas like this, you'll find that careers are traditional careers, and we're saying to young person, from grade 7, can you think of the future differently? Can you think of yourself as an entrepreneur and not as somebody who's going to be employed? Can you think and reimagine what it could be? So hopefully we are bringing a shift in this community, a shift through the young people through Facebook. Let them see this and let them see themselves. it can be that we talk about Africa can leapfrog and we're still talking the same language in 2022.
Yeah.
Let's just get down to do it.
No, you're absolutely right. And just to make you feel a little bit better, I think even I'm still a little bit confused about all the possibilities within gaming, but there are definitely those who have a good grasp on it definitely know the different ways that, one can infiltrate and harness a good prospective career of sorts, whether it be in development, programming. There's so many ways and so many things that you can do within that sector. And I think as we wrap it up, Mankodi, one of the things is this conversation around 4IR. And this imagining it as though it's something in the distant future. And I always challenge, especially people who work within the educational sector, within government structure, that it's not a future thing. It's a today thing. We live on our phones. We live on computers. It's something that we engage with every single day in various degrees and levels.
Absolutely. I think you're so right. And it's important that we be more and more comfortable and explore it deeper. But I must tell you that in 2018, we did a research. SAFM did a study, and now we have published a journal. We are due to publish 2 journals, an additional 2 journals around citizens' knowledge of 4IR and also about access. One of the things I realized is that as we progress, we have to think of the Sustainable Development Goals, inclusivity. So we really have an opportunity that, unlike the way we have done things before, we include as much as possible young people across the length of breadth of South Africa to be part and parcel of moving with this 4IR, Internet of Things, the coding, the robotics. It becomes a language that we are all comfortable with. But it's important that we make sure rural areas are also prioritized for data. I mean, I was panicking when I was about to take this interview. That will the network hold? It can't be. I mean, it can't be. Why should people in communities like this really battle? They need it most. When people are saying that during COVID, when our children in urban areas were able to continue learning because for them learning did not stop. Rural areas like this place, because of unreliable net connectivity, expensive data, you name it. Some of them really do have gadgets, but they can't use them the way we want them to. So inclusivity, access is important. So as we do this, let's all contribute to make sure that this becomes a reality.
Mankodi, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and we hope you have a successful day at the expo today. We'll leave it right there. That expo is happening this morning from 9 o'clock, hosting the Youth Career Expo in Limpopo at the Mandagshoek Community Center. If you are within Limpopo, otherwise you can catch it via their Facebook page. Amanda Machaka, I beg your indulgence. She's standing by with the news.